To this day, several unexplainable discoveries are being made in Egypt. The reason for this is because the ancient Egyptians as a civilization were so far ahead of their age and time that they made impressive structures and inventions. As a civilization, they were also recognized for their interactions with astronomy and scientific exploits. With each discovery made in Egypt, scientists have to dig deep to find answers. However, their most recent discovery has not only left them clueless, but also scared the whole scientific community. What did they find? Were ancient Egyptians hiding secrets from the rest of the world? Join us as we explore the new discoveries in Egypt that scare scientists. Scientists have just announced they found the tomb of the Egyptian god Osiris next to the river Nile. After excavations in some prominent parts of Egypt, scientists and archaeologists moved on to explore the Theban necropolis. The Theban necropolis is an enormous combination of ancient tombs and temples that faced the ancient Egyptian city Thebes, which is now known as modern Luxor. Within these combinations of ancient tombs and temples, archaeologists uncovered an ancient tomb on the west bank of the Nile, which was constructed in the likeness of the mythical tomb of Osiris. It was discovered in Sheikh Abd al-Qurna, which houses the largest concentration of private tombs in the Theban necropolis complex. Located in Abydos, one of the oldest cities of Egypt, it is where all the highest-ranking officials, priests, and prominent people were buried during the New Kingdom era. The New Kingdom spanned from the 16th century BC right up to the 11th century BC. It was ruled by the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties of Egypt. Some parts of the tomb were initially discovered by Philippe Viré centuries ago in 1887, but it was never described or published. And with modern archaeologists looking around in their thirst for more discoveries, a team of Spanish and Italian archaeologists led by Maria Alvarez Souza of the MIN project came together to excavate its several chambers and shafts. After gathering details from the carvings and compositions inside the tomb, they announced that this had been modeled in the style of the large tomb of Osiris, a god and a huge component of ancient Egyptian legend. From their discoveries and information gathered about the tomb, archaeologists believe it dates back to either 760 to 656 BC or 672 to 525 BC, known as the 25th and 26th dynasties respectively. The postulation of these periods is based on a comparison to similar tombs that contain Osirian elements. In fact, a clear and popular example is the tomb of Osiris called the Osirian. It is constructed into Seti I's own funeral complex. According to Egyptian mythology, Osiris is known as the god of the dead, the afterlife, and also the underworld. He is usually characterized as having bright emerald green skin with a pharaoh's beard. Also, he is depicted wearing a crown adorned with two magnificent ostrich feathers and his legs wrapped up like a mummy. He also holds a crook and a flail, which are signs that show his kingship over the land, just like other ancient pharaohs. Osiris is widely known as an Egyptian god, and his life events were usually performed as a stage play every year by ancient Egyptians. It is a passionate play that recounts his death and rebirth. Pharaohs and other notable people in ancient Egypt were known to perform rituals relating to Osiris, as they believed Osiris can enable them to rise from their dead. Based on Egyptian myths, it was believed that Osiris drowned in the Nile, or some other versions of the story account that he was cut into 14 pieces by Set, his brother. Set is the Egyptian god of storms, disorder, violence, and foreigners, and he conspired with other people to lock his brother in a box and then threw him into the Nile. After Osiris died and the body was scattered across Egypt, Isis, the patroness of nature and magic, and Osiris's partner set out to find them. They were found and put back together over 12 days, all parts of his body except for his phallus, which was said to have been eaten by a catfish. Isis then made a replacement phallus from gold, and with the help of magic, brought Osiris back from the dead for a while, enough to catch up to impregnate Isis with a child. This pregnancy grew to become Horus, the falcon-headed deity associated with king and kingship. But back to the tomb, what made it very clear to be Osiris's tomb was that the symbolism of Osiris is very evident in it due to all the elements about the mythical Osiris tomb. The tomb has a large staircase about 3.5 meters long with a 4-meter-high ceiling at the bottom leading to the underworld. Another staircase leads directly to the Osiris statue, which is at a higher level and isolated on his island. Around Osiris, the statue is an empty corridor surrounding it, which depicts a channel of water and the expected burial chamber below the statue, therefore identifying the dead with Osiris. Archaeologists also explored the funerary room, where they spotted carved reliefs of demons holding knives, and they are depicted as guardians which protect the deceased body in the afterlife. The team leader, Maria Alvarez, commented that the discovered tomb is of great importance because the burial chambers contain dead who slept their eternal sleep under the god of the dead, Osiris. King Tutankhamun may have been a boy soldier. Discovering the tomb of Osiris is cool, but how about a discovery that proves previous theories about the famous boy king Tutankhamun wrong? Tutankhamun is one of the most popular pharaohs in the history of ancient Egypt because his tomb was left intact until British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered it on November 26, 1922. Finding and exploring the contents of Tutankhamun's large tomb is perceived to be one of the most significant archaeological findings in the modern era. However, one of the contents found in his tomb has brought about theories that postulate that the young king could have been a boy soldier before his death. Among the contents uncovered in Tutankhamun's tomb was leather armor. After some analysis of the armor in a documentary, the results hugely conflict with the theory that the young king was a frail and sickly youth before he met his strange death at around 18 years of age. The analysis was done on the leather armor using specialized photography. It showed signs of wear and tear on the 3,000-year-old armor and depicts that the young boy may have fought in battles. Lucy Skinner, an expert on ancient Egyptian leather at the UK's University of Northampton, participated in the documentary. She observed some abrasion along the edges of the leather scales, meaning that the armor had experienced considerable use. And as the owner, it suggests that Tutankhamun had worn it and that perhaps he had even seen battle. Seeing this considerable use of the leather armor was strange, as previous research had proposed that the boy king struggled with health issues. The theory was further cemented in 2014 when a virtual autopsy showed that Tutankhamun suffered from a genetic bone-wasting disease and a club foot, making him unable to walk properly. But this discovery made by scientists could shed more light on the young pharaoh's history. The remains of the tunic-like garment known as a cuirass are kept in the new Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo. King Tut's dagger was made with iron from a meteorite. Like the unique armor leather, more unique artifacts were found in King Tut's tomb. One such artifact uncovered in the tomb was a special dagger, and scientists just discovered that this dagger was built with iron from a meteorite. With a high-tech X-ray, the Polytechnic University of Milan in Italy discovered that the boy king's dagger comprised 10% nickel and 0.6% cobalt. However, their research didn't stop there. This theory was strengthened and confirmed when the dagger was compared with 11 metallic meteorites, and scientists saw that they were made of similar elements. The spectacular thing about this discovery was that it has long been suspected that the iron blade was forged from a meteorite. Still, analysis that has been done before has proved controversial. However, the use of portable X-ray fluorescent spectrometry to identify the dagger's elements has brought it to light, confirming the theory. The dagger dates back to the 14th century BC and was discovered in the wrapping surrounding the right thigh of King Tut's mummy, a sign that shows the dagger was special to him. It is also furnished with a decorated gold handle with a rounded knob of rock crystal. It was discovered in a gold sheath decorated with a pattern of feathers, lilies, and a jackal's head. And apart from this dagger, another gold blade was spotted under King Tut's wrapping on the abdomen. When these daggers were made, iron objects were very rare and largely considered more valuable than gold. Therefore, they were mostly for decorative use. The reason why iron objects were more respected could have been because the ancient Egyptians found iron difficult to work with due to the high heat that is required to forge metal. Tomb of King Tut's wife discovered. So much information about the mystery of Tutankhamun's death and the uncovering of his tomb has been traveling about for decades. But do you also know the young king had a wife? Yes, Tutankhamun did have a wife named Ankhesenamun. Ankhesenamun was the third daughter born to the heretic pharaoh Akhenaten and his consort Nefertiti. Scientists have not been able to decode if Akhenaten was Tutankhamun's father. so that also leaves the possibility of Ankhesenamun as either husband's sister or half-sister. According to historians, details about Tutankhamun's early years are covered in mystery, but Ankhesenamun's childhood could be followed through the art commissioned by her father. Ankhesenamun is initially seen as a naked baby climbing over her mother's shoulder, which grows into a young girl that was always present at several state functions with her parents. She had likely been wedded to Tutankhamun by the time he became king, which left Egypt to be ruled by an 8-year-old king and his teenage sister wife. As his wife and queen consort, Ankhesenamun played a prominent role in Tutankhamun's kingship and formed a partnership that would serve the gods and ensure that Egypt prospered. She also influenced diplomatic correspondence, performed important female-based religious rituals, and served as her husband's deputy. However, a discovery that seems to be her tomb has just been discovered by scientists. The tomb is found in Egypt's Valley of Kings and is located near the tomb of the pharaoh Ay. The former head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, Hawass, is sure that the tomb may belong to Ankhesenamun because she married Ay after Tutankhamun's death, and the newly discovered tomb is near Pharaoh Ay's. The former head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities discovered 4 foundation deposits as traces of the tomb. These foundation deposits, he explained, are holes filled with consecrated objects such as food remains and pottery vessels. Ankhesenamun was a huge part of Tutankhamun's kingship, as she can be seen on the decorated back panel of Tutankhamun's golden throne in the process of an anointing ritual, with Ankhesenamun acting as a priest. Therefore, it is only proper to learn more about the boy king's wife during their union and after the young pharaoh's death. Lost Temple of Ramses II uncovered by archaeologists. Scientists and archaeologists have discovered several ancient sites, some of which are still being discovered today. One such is the Temple of Ramses II, which was once lost and forgotten. According to Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities, they said that scientists on an Egyptian Czech mission in the village of Abu Sir, southwest of Cairo, made the discovery. The excavation site is located close to the famous step pyramid of Saqqara. This temple is the only evidence that Ramses II was present in the Badrushin area in Giza, a part of Greater Cairo. The head of the Czech team, Miroslav Barta, stated that the discovery confirmed the continued worship of the sun god Ra in Abu Sir, which began in the 5th dynasty over 4,500 years ago. When the temple was uncovered, details from the Ministry of Antiquities through a Facebook post explained that the temple is 105 feet by 167 feet. Mud brick foundations for a pylon or monumental gateway have also been found. Scientists and archaeologists also discovered the remains of a large forecourt leading to a hall of pillars with some of its parts painted blue. Moving towards the end of the forecourt, a staircase or a ramp that leads to a sanctuary was also discovered. The sanctuary's rear was divided into 3 parallel chambers, according to investigations by the archaeologists. What remains of this once recognized temple were covered with sand and pieces of stone, which could be the parts of a polychrome relief that once beautified the former temple's wall. These relief fragments are associated with the cult of the sun gods Amun and Ra and the goddess Nekhbet. Yale archaeologists make amazing ancient Egyptian billboard discoveries. Archaeologists have continued to dig deeper into the mysteries of ancient Egypt, and guess what they have found? They discovered ancient billboard-sized hieroglyphs. Discovered in the ancient city of El Kab, the earliest known billboard-sized hieroglyphs were found by scientists and archaeologists from Yale and the Royal Museum of Art and History in Belgium. The hieroglyphs are about 21.7 inches in height, dating back to around 5,200 years. Archaeologists also found a panel of 4 signs written right to left. These panels portrayed animal images of a bull's head on a short pole and were followed by 2 back-to-back saddlebill stalks with a bald iris bird above and between them. The overall tableau of images is about 27.5 inches tall. At first, there were a couple of debates about how old these signs were. Still, a professor in Yale's Department of Near Eastern Languages and Civilizations, John Coleman Darnell, who co-directs the El Kab Desert Survey project, was confident about his stance. He said, "I feel pretty confident that these signs date to about 3,250 BCE. Darnell also made it known that the hieroglyphs were similar to the earliest known hieroglyphs located at a tomb in Abydos, Egypt. The huge size of the hieroglyphs at El Kab surprised the archaeologists. They were surprised because other hieroglyphs discovered are often less than an inch in height, but these newly discovered hieroglyphs looked like they were written to be seen at a considerable distance. It was also delightful to know that the ancient Egyptians were not only writing on a small scale in the early times of hieroglyphs, they were writing them on a monumental scale, another historical development. According to Darnell, the discovery has also shown that hieroglyphic writing at that period was geographically widespread. When archaeologists studied the hieroglyphs, they said that the symbol arrangements at El Kab are regular in other representations of the solar cycle and could also explain the concept of royal authority over the cosmos. The rock hieroglyphs were found by finding out routes based on the road networks of ancient Egypt. Darnell also noted that most inscriptions were found along major roads parallel to the Nile or out into the desert. Also, technology was an important tool in the discoveries made at El Kab. This was helpful as archaeologists utilized a new recording technique developed at Yale to record the features of the archaeological site, and the results returned accurately. 3,000-year-old royal tomb discovered in Egypt. As these archaeological sites are found, some are seen to have been somehow destroyed with debris from the structure, so archaeologists would have to clean them while excavating the site. Sometimes, cleaning one archaeological site can lead to the discovery of another, just like the one we're about to talk about. A team of archaeologists led by Egyptology professor Jiro Kondo of Waseda University in Tokyo was cleaning up the tomb of Ursahat. Ursahat was a high official under Amenhotep III, the 9th pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, and while Ursahat's tomb was being cleaned, a hole was discovered. When the hole was examined, an archaeologist peeped through and to his surprise saw the transverse hall of an unknown tomb built for a royal scribe named Khonsu. The second thing this team noticed was a frieze pattern close to the ceiling. This pattern is synonymous with the Ramesside period dating to around 1200 BC. The beautifully decorated tomb spans 18 feet from north to south and 15 feet long from east to west. A carved picture at the entrance can also be seen on the wall, which shows 4 baboons worshipping the solar boat of the god Ra-Atum. Close to these images, some hieroglyphics describe Khonsu as a true renowned scribe. On a separate wall are images of Khonsu and his wife, with 2 ram-headed deities in the background seen worshipping the gods Osiris and Isis, were depicted in a seated position on another wall. The discovery of this tomb gave hope to the archaeologists that more tombs may be uncovered in the Luxor area of Egypt. Following the tomb's discovery, the Waseda University Institute of Egyptology was given access to start excavating the site in 1971, and even today it continues to conduct excavations every year. Archaeologists discover tombs from ancient Great Cemetery in Egypt's Nile Valley. Being a country with a huge knowledge of ancient civilization, archaeologists are everywhere in Egypt, scraping and brushing every nook and cranny in search of old artifacts. While some experts were at the site of an ancient city in the Nile Valley, they discovered 3 tombs that date back 2,000 years. The discovery was made in the province of Minyar, south of Cairo, in an area known as Al-Kamin al-Saharawi. And according to Egypt's Antiquities Ministry, archaeologists found the tombs from the Ptolemaic period. They excavated several sarcophagi of different shapes and sizes in the tombs, including clay fragments that date the tomb to between Egypt's 27th dynasty and the Greco-Roman period. The ministry also added that the discovery of this area shows it to be a great cemetery. He also described the site as important because it gives historians and archaeologists room to know more about the area's secrets. So far, the excavations at the site have shown about 20 catacomb-style tombs, but the excavation is still ongoing. More tombs have been discovered with a different design than the previously discovered ones. One of the tombs has a burial shaft carved into a rock, and it led to a chamber in which lids with human figures and 4 sarcophagi for 2 women and 2 men were discovered. Another tomb was seen to contain 2 chambers. One of them has 6 burial holes, including one for a child. This chamber with space for a child was the first time a child's burial was discovered in the area. When bones from the site were analyzed, results showed that they were from men, women, and children of several ages. The tests on the bones also confirmed that the tombs are from a large city cemetery and not from a military garrison cemetery, as it was originally thought to be. When archaeologists discovered some of the tombs, some were seen to hold a lot of puzzling contents. One of these discoveries was more than shocking when a Swedish archaeological team working in Egypt announced the discovery of 12 new tombs. In the tombs, they found human remains with several sheep or goats with holes in their skulls, a cat, and 2 headless crocodiles. It was found in an ancient sandstone quarry site on the banks of the Nile called Gebel el-Silsila. Excavating these tombs has been in progress for years, and the total tomb count is now over 45. From the analysis done by the archaeologists, most of the ancient bodies that were found probably belonged to the quarry workers of antiquity, and those who had been injured seem to have gotten medical care. The bodies appear to have been wrapped in a type of linen. The sheep or goats, as it's hard to differentiate between their skeletons, may have been used in rituals. The crocodiles, however, have the largest appearance, as it is unclear if they had been put there on purpose or had simply washed there. Discovering all of this was shocking, as archaeologists found abundant beads, amulets, necklaces, and ceramics. Even the cat had its own little crypt. Mysterious tiny mummy stuns experts. You may think what you just heard was a shocking discovery, but wait till you discover the mysterious tiny mummy that surprises even experts. Since the tiny Egyptian mummy was discovered, it has always been considered to be a hawk's remains. It was believed to be that until some tests were conducted, and it turned out to be a human baby. The ancient mummy, which is part of the Maidstone Museum's collection, went through a computerized tomography scan at the Kent Institute of Medicine and Surgery. It was after the scan results showed the mummy to be a miscarried 20-week gestation fetus, which, if found to be the case, will be one of the youngest human mummies found anywhere in the world. The CT scan allowed experts to study the mummy, which could be 2,300 years old, without damaging it. This is where respect is given to technology again, because identifying and learning about the baby mummy wouldn't be achievable without causing irreversible damage from unwrapping the mummy. There are theories about this little mummy discovery, though, as archaeologists speculate that the mummy is the love child of a pharaoh. However, there is no proof to support this theory. Queen Nefertari's mummy legs. As these discoveries were made, some were seen to have been looted and robbed by thieves. This leaves the situation of the tomb in a disastrous, empty state, with some of the valuables carted away or destroyed. And for some reason, even the mummies buried in the tombs sometimes go missing. Perhaps the grave robbers love to have a collection of mummies, who knows? However, Queen Nefertari's tomb was one of these tombs affected by grave robbers. If you need to refresh your ancient Egyptian politics, Nefertari was King Ramses II's wife. She was a dashing woman who seems to exert a quiet power behind the throne. Her final resting place is quite famous for its gorgeous paintings on the walls, and as it was located in the Valley of Queens, it got looted before Ernesto Schiaparelli discovered it in 1904. He in turn found an almost desolate room with few things left, such as a pair of sandals and some leg bones. But one question has sparked since then: are these leg bones actually the Queen's? Scientists did X-rays, radiocarbon dating, chemical analysis, and many other tests to find out. They examined the knees and decided that the person who had them was probably a woman about 5 feet 4 inches tall. Based on the X-ray results, the researchers saw traces of mild arthritis, which was maybe somewhere between 40 and 60 at the time of death. After pondering back and forth about different hypotheses over the 3,000-year-old bones, scientists and archaeologists then decided that the knees probably did belong to Queen Nefertari. However, although this identification is highly likely, no absolute certainty exists. Mystery of the Screaming Mummy. The Screaming Mummy is another strange discovery made by scientists. When they first unearthed the mummified body, they were shocked to see the long-dead Egyptian face distorted in anguish, appearing to be silently screaming. Since then, theories have been speculated to discover how this mummy was and why it died in agony. However, one popular theory stated that he was Prince Pentuer, son of Pharaoh Ramses III. According to ancient Egyptian records, the prince tried to kill his father and take his throne, but wasn't successful. After which he was seized and put on trial before being sentenced, and was made to take his own life after the plan failed. Now, however, there's a new theory that casts doubt on that explanation. Dr. Zahi Hawass from the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities believes that the mummy was probably a prince who brought shame to his family. It was buried with other royals but was covered in sheepskin. Back then in ancient Egypt, an average Egyptian mummy covered with sheepskin depicts that he was not clean, he was involved in a bad act. One reason this discovery is surprising is that since all the excavations done, scientists and archaeologists have never uncovered a mummy like this. It at first seems unrealistic and tells us something happened, even though we don't know exactly what. But hopefully scientists will discover that soon. The pyramid of an unknown queen found near King Tut's tomb. On the 100th anniversary of King Tut's tomb's discovery, a team of archaeologists discovered multiple coffins, mummies, artifacts, a series of interconnected underground tunnels, and even the pyramid of an ancient Egyptian queen that had not been recognized. As the archaeologists explored further, they discovered her name was Neith. However, Neith is yet to appear in the books of ancient Egyptian history. Due to the unavailability of information about this queen, more work will have to be done to learn about her rule and story. This is why archaeologists keep digging at a site about 20 miles south of Cairo called Saqqara to discover more details. Egypt's oldest tomb oriented to the winter solstice. Here a team of archaeologists found Egypt's oldest tomb built towards the sunrise on the winter solstice. Every year on the shortest day, the sun's rays cover a spot meant to hold a governor's statue of the city of Elephantine who lived at the end of the 12th dynasty of Egypt, around 1830 BCE. The team explained further that to get a perfect orientation with the sun, an Egyptian architect utilized a 2-cubit pole around 3 feet long, a square and some robes to calculate the orientation of the entire chapel and the location of the governor's statue. By utilizing these measurements, the tomb perfectly captured the whole solar cycle related to the idea of rebirth and renewal. The winter solstice is depicted as the beginning of the sun's victory over darkness as the days grew longer, while the summer solstice generally happened with the beginning of the annual flooding of the Nile River. Both of these events held important symbolism linked to the resurrection of the deceased governor. A geometric miracle tunnel. A team of archaeologists excavated and explored a temple beneath the ancient city of Osiris Magna on the Egyptian coast. It was led by Kathleen Martinez of the University of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic, and her team discovered a tunnel 43 feet underground. The roughly 6-foot-tall tunnel had been constructed through 4,281 feet of sandstone. The team called the design a geometric miracle. The comments made by the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities were impressive, saying the design is similar to Greece's tunnel of Eupalinos, a 6th century BCE aqueduct on the island of Samos. Some parts of the Osiris Magna tunnel are submerged in water and its purpose is currently unknown. However, some people believe that the tunnel could be a huge lead in the 18-year-long search for the lost tomb of the popular Cleopatra. Also, the previous excavations in the area have produced some clues that point to the prominent queen and the last of Egypt's Ptolemy dynasty, who ruled Egypt from 51 BCE until she died in 30 BCE. Which of these discoveries got your attention? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.